the story of King Loweko, aka the Devil of the Low. 7 feet tall enforcer, Loweko Lowlife. Today we're going to talk about this law. The life of this Chirac savage remains one of the most mysterious stories to ever come out of Chicago's drill culture. This is the mysterious death of King Loweko, the alleged 7-foot assassin known throughout the trenches of Chicago as the Devil of Low. For years, Loweko's name carried weight in the streets. According to local stories and drill culture rumors, he was an intimidating figure associated with the Lowlife faction, a set reportedly connected to the Black Disciples on Chicago's South Side. People who claimed to know about him described him as unusually tall, sometimes exaggerated in street lore as standing a full 7 feet tall.
Shorty I remember Shorty one time.
And he had that motherfucker, what he have on, folks?
The pelly jacket. You know he was a little bitty nigga.
Oh, BD, folks. This motherfucker something else on David Gray. Hey, folks, I love you, Slap. You know what the it is, man. Fold them gray forever, except there with us. We blood, we stuck together. No matter if you're 1,000 miles away, I love you. Whole lot of gang shit. I'm just sitting there drinking food. Get at me.
Some said he was actually a good person deep down, someone who could have had a completely different future if life had taken another direction. Because of his massive height and physical build, many believed basketball should have been his path. A lot of people felt someone with his size had real athletic potential and could have pursued sports instead of street life. Even if making it professionally wasn't guaranteed, his physical gifts alone gave him opportunities most people never receive. But instead of sports, Loweko allegedly became consumed by the streets. Like many young men growing up in difficult environments, he reportedly became a product of his surroundings, influenced by gang culture, poverty, violence, and the reality of survival on Chicago's South Side during the height of the drill era. Over time, his name became deeply tied to Chicago street lore. The nickname the Devil of Low reflected the fear people associated with him. Rumors and internet stories painted him as an alleged enforcer connected to Lowlife, a faction whose roots reportedly trace back near 69th Street and Parnell Avenue. As drill music exploded worldwide, stories about figures like Loweko spread far beyond Chicago. YouTube documentaries, blogs, interviews, Reddit discussions, and true crime channels all helped turn his reputation into urban legend. But at the same time, many of the stories surrounding him remain impossible to fully verify. That's what makes his story so mysterious. Unlike many well-documented criminal cases, there are very few official public records clearly explaining what happened to Loweko or confirming many of the violent rumors tied to his name. Even the details surrounding his death remain heavily debated. Some people online claim he died due to natural causes.
He was a real gangster, real genuine dude. Don't give you the shirt off his back. If he with you for, he with you for. OBD for. Like, he always been a thug, G. Always been a pistol toting. I don't even go lie. That's probably why he stayed booked. The police just know he dangerous, folk. He the tallest. This is why I know, like, when you that tall, folk, you them that gotta do drive-bys, folks. On Biddy, like, you cannot think you gonna be bouncing out on, like, they gonna be like, yeah, bro. Yo, me slid through this, started running, move up the man, and move up the man, and move up the man. Folks, no. You going to jail, folks. On Steve, they not, boy, look. You the only nigga over here that damn big, for on BD, for the only, every time, your ass going straight in investigation. Folks got a drill like he in, goddamn it, Compton, California, on folding them gray out the car. On folding them, like, folding them gray, you not coming through here. Your bitch can't even sneak up on BD, folk. When you that big, folk, they, yeah, Wimby was just coming through his blowing and Like you talking about when we went on the drill. What the bro, you not getting away with that, fool. I ain't gonna lie, fool. You not getting away with thinking you gonna come through that bitch with a little me yama. Oh, Steve look like Winnie Yama, fool. On 4th grade, he tall as on 4th grade, but he was like that though. Steve was like that, but that shit was hard. This is how you really gotta judge a savage though, cause it's hard when you that tall to be a savage, bro. Don't know it was you all the time on BD. So you just gotta resort to like just being hot as hell, cause everybody know you did it. Bro, everybody know you did it, bro. I ain't gonna lie, everybody know you did it, G. Go ahead, fool. We knew it was your, come on, fool. Everybody know you did it, fool. On BD. You can't hide nothing as big as folks was on 4th grade, G. So I was like, man, fool, RP my nigga Loweko, fool, but he was a real David, fool, on BD, fool. Real savage, fool. I ain't gonna lie, fool. And I ain't gonna lie, he always been loved by all our blocks, you know what I'm saying? Like, he always been loved by all our blocks, fool. On BD, he always was like, who could come over here, come over there, and didn't have to say he was our block, didn't have to be O-Block, Lowlife, da-da-da-da-da. You'd never even have to hear him talk about what other hoods he could claim, folks. He low life as hell. But on BD, folks, he a real Roy, he's a real Sixer, he's a real member. On phone them, all the blocks embrace the Loweko, folks. On BD, like, L Hood, folks. On Steve, we all love folks. On BD, he could go anywhere, he could go everywhere, folks. And he one of them dudes.
Von and Loweko built a brotherly bond over time, especially after the death of another drill member, T. Roy, someone Von also considered family. What made it even deeper was the fact that Loweko and T. Roy were actually related. They shared the same father but had different mothers, making them half-brothers. After T. Roy's death, Von and Loweko reportedly became even closer. Loweko also represented Stretch Gang while he was alive, carrying himself as someone deeply rooted in Chicago's street culture. Loweko was the perfect example of becoming a product of your environment. Standing at nearly 7 feet tall, many people believed he could have easily had a future in basketball. With that kind of height, the NBA, or at least serious opportunities in sports, could have been within reach. But instead of chasing athletics, Loweko chose the streets. He's also rumored to have been the shooter connected to the death of well-known Chicago GD drill rapper Lil Jojo. At the time, many people believed Lil Reese was responsible because Reese and Jojo had exchanged threats just hours before Jojo's death. However, rumors in the streets pointed toward Loweko, although nothing was ever officially confirmed by law enforcement. What makes Loweko's story even more interesting is how mysterious both his life and death became. His name constantly surfaced whenever rivals were killed or ops started dropping. Yet he was never officially arrested or charged in connection to any of those incidents, despite being viewed by many as a suspect. And when it comes to his own death, the mystery only gets deeper. Unlike many figures in Chicago's drill scene, Loweko wasn't reportedly killed by an op. Instead, his death was ruled as natural causes. Still, that explanation left people with questions. Some believed his body may have simply given out because of his massive size. Others speculated it could have been complications from an untreated bullet wound. There were even rumors suggesting he may have overdosed on pills. What makes the story even crazier is that before his death, people close to him claimed he was actually trying to change his life. As much as people focused on his violent reputation, it was said that Loweko had found a good job and was actively trying to leave the streets behind after witnessing so many of his friends die. Unfortunately, he would end up suffering a tragic fate himself. Today, we're getting into the story of King Loweko, aka the Devil of the Low. Shout out to Drill Archives. Definitely go support their platform. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, push the video into the algorithm, and if you're not subscribed already, make sure you do that now. Let's talk about what happens when a man with extraordinary height becomes consumed by street life. This is the shocking story of Loweko, a 7-foot giant who went from being just another neighborhood kid to becoming one of the most feared, alleged hitters in Chicago. The streets shaped him into a figure whose name became associated with power, violence, and tragedy during Chicago's gang wars. But behind all the rumors, fear, and infamous stories was also a life filled with pain, and ultimately a tragic death that still leaves people asking questions today. So what really happened? Did natural causes truly take his life? Or was it possible retaliation connected to the murders of Lil Jojo or FBG Duck? Let's uncover the untold truth about King Loweko. King Loweko, whose real name was reportedly Green Jean, was born when his size alone made him impossible to miss. But despite that, he still earned the respect of people many considered major figures in Chicago's drill culture. When names like King Von, Bo Deal, and others publicly paid respect to him after his death, calling him a real gangster and honoring his name, that clearly said something about the reputation he carried. Nobody really knows how he managed to move the way he allegedly did while standing that tall. But one thing is certain, his reputation spoke for itself. Behind that reputation, though, was a difficult upbringing. Green grew up in poverty, raised by a mother who worked tirelessly to support him and his sister. Despite her efforts, the family constantly struggled just to survive, and like many young people growing up in harsh conditions, the streets eventually became a major influence in his life. The absence of a father figure left a major void in Loweko's life, a void that the streets would eventually fill. Growing up in an environment where gangs already had a powerful influence, it didn't take long for the streets to claim him as one of their own. By the time he reached his mid-teens, Loweko had reportedly dropped out of school and started running errands for local gang members. At first, the tasks were small, delivering messages, carrying packages, and handling minor work around the neighborhood. But because of his intimidating size and fearless attitude, people quickly began viewing him as someone capable of enforcing the gang's rules. Before long, Loweko was pulled deeper into street activity. His towering frame and willingness to act made him a valuable asset, and eventually he became associated with Stretch Gang, also known as Get Back Gang. For context, Stretch Gang wasn't necessarily its own separate gang. It was more like a tight-knit circle connected to O Block during one of the most active periods of street conflict in Chicago. The group reportedly formed after divisions and social splits began happening within O Block itself, with figures like Boss Top being viewed as major influences at the time. Members commonly linked to Stretch Gang included names like King Von, T-Roy, Loweko, and several others.
Speaking of his brother, man, he made the whole BDK song. What was your reaction when you first heard the song?
Shit, I was like, shit, he gonna have some problems coming his way.
Was like a lot of people mad, like a lot of BDs mad about that?
Hell yeah, you saying BDK and you in a city full of BDs, you don't think they gonna be mad? Like, say for instance, if you was a gang or something and you diss a whole nation, you don't think the whole nation gonna be mad at you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now, when that happened, man, I heard that it was like a lot of people really with the song, man. Did you guys see that a lot?
No, hell no, cause where I was from, it ain't nothing but BDs. So ain't no BDs finna be playing that shit.
Did you ever run across anybody bumping it down the street or anything?
Hell no. BD.
Over time, members associated with Lowlife became linked to violent street conflicts, while also influencing Chicago's evolving drill movement. Drill artists connected to the set frequently used music to describe life inside their neighborhood, talking about loss, survival, loyalty, and the realities of growing up surrounded by violence. And honestly, when you really think about it, it's wild how much information about these situations becomes publicly available online. A lot of people say things like, "You not from Chicago, so you wouldn't understand." But many of the people covering these stories aren't even from Illinois. Some aren't even from the United States. Yet they're still able to gather detailed information simply through social media posts, interviews, live streams, tweets, music lyrics, and online discussions. That raises a bigger question. If internet personalities can piece together this much information publicly, imagine how much law enforcement agencies already know behind the scenes. There's even been discussion from people close to Chicago's drill culture, claiming that police often prioritize cases differently depending on whether innocent civilians are involved. While those claims remain debated, many believe authorities have historically viewed gang-on-gang violence differently from crimes affecting the general public. Regardless, the mix of music, social media, and street politics helped turn Lowlife into one of the more recognizable and controversial names associated with Chicago's drill era. For many people outside the city, drill music became entertainment. But for those living inside these neighborhoods, it reflected real losses, real trauma, and real street conflicts happening in everyday life. The role of Lowlife, a faction reportedly tied to the Black Disciples, was mainly centered around controlling territory near 65th Street and Low Avenue in Chicago. Like many street factions in Chicago during that era, they were allegedly involved in activities such as drug trafficking, violent retaliation, and territorial disputes with rival gangs. According to street rumors and online discussions, Lowlife had conflicts with groups like Mac Block, Raza Gang, the Latin Kings, Four Corner Hustlers, Darkside BD, Mickey Cobras, and Brick Squad. They were also said to be aligned with crews such as 600, O-Block, and Lamron. Loweko first built his reputation through Stretch Gang, also known as Get Back Gang, before later claiming Lowlife alongside his close associates. Because of his feared reputation in the streets, people reportedly gave him the nickname the Devil of Low, a name meant to symbolize how dangerous he was viewed by rivals. By the early 2010s, Loweko had allegedly become deeply involved in Chicago street life. Reports and rumors tied him to repeated arrests involving gun possession, drugs, and even home invasion charges. Then came one of the most controversial moments connected to his name, the 2012 killing of Lil Jojo. According to long-standing street rumors, Loweko was allegedly involved in Jojo's death on September 4, 2012, although nothing was ever officially confirmed by authorities. What made the situation so major was the fact that Lil Jojo was a rising figure connected to Brick Squad, a faction tied to the Gangster Disciples. Just weeks earlier, Jojo had already survived a dangerous situation that many people believe should have scared him away from continuing the beef. But instead of backing down, he continued escalating tensions publicly. At the time, Jojo was heavily feuding with major names tied to the drill scene, including Chief Keef, Lil Durk, King Von, and Lil Reese. The conflict reflected the larger war happening between BD and GD factions across Chicago. Around 2011 and 2012, Chicago's drill scene exploded into mainstream attention. Artists like Chief Keef helped bring national focus to the city's music and street culture, while younger rappers such as Lil Jojo quickly gained popularity through diss tracks and viral online moments. One of the biggest turning points came when Lil Jojo released his infamous diss song 300K BDK, where BDK stood for Black Disciple Killer. The track openly dissed multiple BD-associated rappers and crews, making tensions even worse. The song became a major moment in drill culture because it helped popularize disrespectful gang diss music on a wider scale. JoJo's lyrics and online presence brought huge attention, but they also made him a major target. At the time, Chief Keef was affiliated with the 300 Lamrun movement, tied to the Black Disciples, while JoJo represented 069 Brick Squad, connected to the Gangster Disciples. And honestly, looking back at that era now, it's wild to think about how many of those young artists never got the chance to grow older or evolve beyond street life. Some people survived long enough to see how drastically things changed over time, while others became trapped by reputations, prison sentences, internet rumors, or violence that followed them for years. A lot of the early drill scene was built around young teenagers publicly documenting real street conflicts online. At the time, many probably didn't realize how permanent those moments would become once social media and YouTube amplified everything worldwide. Lil Jojo's music continued escalating tensions. His diss tracks toward Chief Keef, Lil Reese, and other BD figures went viral and drew even more attention to the rivalry. As his popularity grew, so did the danger surrounding him. The back and forth between both sides eventually turned into public threats, diss videos, and online taunting. There were even people who reportedly tried warning JoJo about the path he was heading down, encouraging him to leave the streets behind before it was too late. Unfortunately, those warnings went ignored. Things escalated even further after JoJo and his associates allegedly spotted Lil Reese in traffic and began chasing him while recording the situation. Incidents like that only intensified the already dangerous feud happening between rival neighborhoods. By that point, the conflict had gone far beyond music. What started as diss tracks and online disrespect had turned into a real-life cycle of retaliation that would ultimately end in tragedy for multiple people connected to Chicago's drill era. After the incident, Lil Jojo reportedly posted about it on Twitter, joking about what had happened and treating the situation lightly. But while he laughed about the encounter online, many people believed he made a critical mistake. He had allegedly caught his rivals off guard, yet failed to act, giving them time to regroup and retaliate. Not long after, the tensions surrounding JoJo reached a breaking point. September 4th, 2012 would ultimately become the final day of his life. At around 4:04 p.m., Lil Jojo and several affiliates allegedly drove through O Block while recording themselves taunting rivals, including Lil Reese and others connected to the area. During the exchange, Reese was reportedly heard threatening JoJo, saying, "I'ma kill you." And looking back at that moment now, a lot of people remember how intense the reaction was after JoJo was killed just hours later. At that time, Lil Reese had built a major reputation in Chicago's drill scene. Between the music, the street rumors, and the image surrounding him, many fans viewed him as one of the most feared figures connected to early drill culture. So when clips circulated online of him threatening JoJo shortly before JoJo's death, it added even more mystery and fear to the situation. What many people still debate today is why JoJo allegedly didn't take things further during earlier encounters with rivals. From the outside looking in, some people questioned why someone who publicly dissed opponents so aggressively would choose to record and post online instead of escalating the violence directly when opportunities supposedly appeared. Others argue that social media and public image had already become deeply tied into drill culture by that point, where clout, disrespect, and online attention often fueled the conflicts just as much as the streets themselves. At the same time, it's important to remember how young many of these individuals were during that era. A lot of the decisions being made were impulsive, emotional, and heavily influenced by the environment around them. Unfortunately, JoJo's online activity that day may have made him easier to locate. According to reports, he openly posted his whereabouts online, something many later viewed as a reckless move considering the active feud surrounding him. What may have felt like confidence or invincibility at the time ended up putting him in even greater danger. Then later that evening at around 7:30 p.m., tragedy struck. Lil Jojo was reportedly riding on the back of a bicycle or bike with another individual near 70th Street and Princeton Avenue in Chicago when a four-door sedan approached alongside other vehicles. According to police reports and witness accounts, shots were fired from the driver's side of the sedan, striking Jojo before the vehicles fled the scene. The killing immediately sent shockwaves through Chicago's drill scene and became one of the most infamous moments connected to the early era of drill music. Rumors spread quickly about who may have been responsible, with multiple names being mentioned online, including allegations involving people tied to rival BD factions. However, despite years of speculation on social media and in documentaries, no official evidence ever publicly confirmed many of the street rumors surrounding the shooting. Still, the death of Lil Jojo became a defining moment in drill culture, one that symbolized how quickly online beef, music, gang politics, and real-life violence had become intertwined during that period in Chicago. In a desperate attempt to escape the gunfire, Lil Jojo reportedly jumped off the bike and ran towards 6954 South Princeton Avenue. Witnesses say he stumbled through the street before collapsing on the sidewalk from his injuries. Panic immediately spread throughout the area as people realized what had just happened. Emergency responders rushed Jojo to Comer Children's Hospital, but despite efforts to save him, idiots from Lamron were behind the attack. That assumption made sense to a lot of people because Lamron and Jojo's side already had serious tension, and he had reportedly been circling around areas connected to them just hours before his death. But over time, a different name started surfacing more and more in online discussions and street rumors: Loweko, also known as the Devil of Low. Although law enforcement never officially confirmed his involvement, many people in Chicago's drill culture began claiming that Loweko was allegedly the shooter connected to Jojo's death. Those rumors alone were enough to elevate his status and reputation among people tied to the Black Disciples. To many people on the streets, reputation was everything, and if the rumors were true, then Loweko had allegedly carried out one of the most high-profile killings connected to the early drill era. A killing that would forever change Chicago's rap scene and gang culture. By that point, Loweko had already built a reputation as someone extremely active in street conflicts. People close to the culture described him as loyal, aggressive, and fully committed to his side. According to rumors, he was the type of person who took disrespect personally and believed retaliation was mandatory. That mentality was common during Chicago's drill movement in the early 2010s. The streets operated on cycles of revenge, loyalty, and retaliation. Diss songs, tweets, live streams, and social media posts weren't just entertainment to the people involved. They were often viewed as direct disrespect that demanded a response. And after Jojo's death, the violence and tension between rival sets only escalated further. Loweko's name continued surfacing whenever major incidents happened involving rivals. Even though there was rarely official confirmation tying him to crimes, people constantly mentioned him in conversations surrounding shootings and retaliation attacks. One incident often connected to his name happened on January 26, 2017. According to reports, a Brick Squad affiliate named Hussey was walking near the 7000 block of South Princeton when a dark-colored SUV reportedly pulled up beside him. Someone inside the vehicle opened fire, striking Hussey multiple times in the chest, abdomen, and legs. He was rushed to the hospital, but later died from his injuries. Once again, rumors quickly spread online claiming that Loweko had allegedly been the shooter. But like many other situations connected to drill culture, nothing was officially proven in court, and he was never charged. Still, his reputation continued growing. To some people, Loweko became almost mythical, the towering 7-foot figure whose name constantly appeared in stories involving violence, yet somehow managed to avoid major convictions tied to those rumors. And honestly, that mystery only added to the fear surrounding his name. People would often say things like, "How does someone that tall move around unnoticed?" Because standing nearly 7 feet tall makes it almost impossible to blend into crowds. Yet despite his size, his name repeatedly surfaced in connection with incidents throughout Chicago's gang conflicts. At the same time, though, years of living that lifestyle reportedly began taking a toll on him. By 2020, people close to Loweko claimed he was becoming tired of street life. After years of surviving through hustling, robberies, carrying drugs, and constantly looking over his shoulder, he allegedly started trying to move differently. Instead of focusing entirely on the streets, he reportedly got a regular 9-to-5 job and began trying to build stability for himself. For many people who knew his reputation, that came as a surprise. Screenshots of conversations between Loweko and friends discussing work and trying to better himself eventually spread online. Some people saw those messages as proof that he was genuinely attempting to leave the streets behind. And that's what makes his story feel tragic to a lot of people. Because there's a saying often repeated about street life: sometimes the streets don't let people leave peacefully. A lot of individuals survive years of violence, police investigations, gang wars, and near-death experiences. They survive shootouts, prison time, enemies, and dangerous situations over and over again. But then, the moment they finally try to step away and live a normal life, something happens. Some people call it karma, others call it consequences catching up. And some simply believe that once someone becomes deeply tied to that lifestyle, escaping it completely becomes almost impossible. In Loweko's situation, things became even stranger because his death itself remains surrounded by mystery. On March 27, 2021, Loweko died at only 28 years old. Unlike many people involved in Chicago's drill scene, reports did not immediately point toward a shooting or murder. Instead, rumors and theories flooded the internet because no widely confirmed public explanation was ever fully established. Some people believed his death may have been retaliation connected to the murder of FBG Duck. That theory gained traction after old interviews and live stream clips involving Boss Top resurfaced online. During one interview, questions about Duck and fallen rivals like T-Roy were brought up. At one point, attention shifted toward Loweko standing nearby, and internet users immediately began analyzing every reaction, facial expression, and statement shown on camera. The clip spread rapidly across YouTube and social media. Many people believed too much was being implied publicly, especially considering how heavily law enforcement had already started paying attention to drill culture and online self-snitching during that time. Eventually, parts of the interview reportedly disappeared from platforms, but by then the internet had already archived and reposted the footage everywhere. And honestly, that became one of the biggest downfalls of drill culture as a whole. What started as music eventually blurred the line between entertainment and real-life street politics. People weren't just rapping anymore. They were documenting active beefs, mocking dead rivals, discussing retaliation, and exposing themselves online in ways previous generations never did publicly. Social media amplified everything. Every diss track became evidence to analyze. Every live stream became a clue. Every tweet, interview, and Instagram post became something fans, bloggers, rivals, and even investigators could study. That's part of why stories from Chicago's drill era became so explosive worldwide. It felt raw, dangerous, and real in a way people hadn't seen before. But behind all the viral moments were real lives being destroyed. In Loweko's case, though, other people rejected the retaliation theories completely. Some individuals close to the situation claimed his death was actually connected to old injuries from previous shootings he allegedly survived years earlier. According to those rumors, complications from untreated or severe injuries may have slowly damaged his health over time. Others speculated about drug use, exhaustion, stress, or the long-term physical toll of years spent living dangerously. But because no clear public explanation ever fully settled the debate, his death remains mysterious to this day. And in many ways, that mystery reflects the entire era he came from. The early Chicago drill scene created larger-than-life figures whose reputations spread across the internet, but many of their stories ended the same way: prison, trauma, addiction, paranoia, or death before they ever truly escaped the environment that created them. Loweko's story stands as another example of how quickly street fame can become self-destruction. One moment, you're feared. The next, your name becomes another story people debate online while trying to figure out what really happened. Rumors surrounding Loweko's death only became more confusing as time went on. Some people believed he died from natural causes, while others speculated that drugs or some type of overdose may have played a role. There were also theories claiming that years of stress, previous injuries, and the physical toll of street life may have contributed to his death. But because no official homicide announcement was ever publicly tied to the case, many of the rumors connecting his death to retaliation for FBG Duck eventually lost credibility. That's what made the entire situation so mysterious. Unlike many figures from Chicago's drill scene, whose deaths were immediately linked to shootings or gang violence, Loweko's passing left people confused. One side believed karma had finally caught up to him. Another side believed his body simply gave out after years of living dangerously. Others thought the internet was trying too hard to force connections between unrelated situations. But the reality is that nobody outside his close circle truly knows exactly what happened. And because of that uncertainty, fans and followers of Chicago drill culture still debate the death of the Devil of Low to this day. For a lot of people, Loweko's story stands out because he didn't fit the image people usually expect. When you hear about someone standing nearly 7 feet tall, most people automatically think basketball, football, or some kind of athletic future. Even if making it to the NBA or NFL isn't guaranteed, someone with that type of height naturally has opportunities that many others never get. That's why so many people look at his story and wonder how someone with that kind of physical advantage ended up becoming consumed by the streets instead. But that's where environment plays a huge role. A lot of people from outside these neighborhoods don't fully understand how powerful environmental influence can be. When somebody grows up surrounded by poverty, violence, gangs, trauma, and survival mentality every single day, those conditions often shape the decisions they make long before adulthood. Sometimes people don't join street life because they dream about it. Sometimes they follow older friends. Sometimes they grow up seeing it normalized. Sometimes they feel like it's the only protection available to them. And other times, they simply become curious and slowly get pulled deeper into it until there's no easy way out. That's part of what makes stories like Loweko's so tragic. Because underneath all the rumors, violence, fear, and internet mythology was still a human being who once started out as just another kid growing up on the south side of Chicago. A kid who probably laughed with friends, had dreams at some point, and could have potentially taken a completely different path if life circumstances had been different. But the streets have a way of pulling people in early, and once that happens, escaping can become incredibly difficult, especially during the height of Chicago's drill era. Back then, the environment was different. Social media amplified every beef, every insult, every death, every retaliation. Teenagers and young adults were becoming famous overnight, while simultaneously living through active street wars in real life. Music and violence became intertwined in a way the world had never really seen before. Diss tracks turned into real threats. Tweets became evidence. Live streams exposed locations. Interviews fueled rumors. And fans around the world watched everything unfold in real time without always understanding the real-life consequences attached to it. For some artists, drill music became a way out. For others, it became a spotlight that intensified the danger surrounding them. And unfortunately, many of the names connected to that era never lived long enough to fully grow beyond it. That's why stories like Loweko's continue to fascinate people years later. Not because people glorify the violence, but because his life represents a deeper reality about how environment, poverty, trauma, loyalty, and street culture can completely shape someone's future. When people say someone became a product of their environment, this is the kind of story they mean. A 7-foot kid with athletic potential ends up becoming feared in the streets instead of celebrated in sports. A young man survives years of violence only to die under mysterious circumstances before turning 30. A person allegedly tries to change their life and get a regular job, only for their story to end before they ever fully escape the past connected to their name. And in the end, all that's left are rumors, old videos, internet debates, and unanswered questions. So what do you think really happened to King Loweko? Do you think his death truly came from natural causes? Do you think years of street life and injuries finally caught up to him? Or do you believe there's more to the story than people know publicly? One thing is certain, whether people knew him personally or only heard about him through drill culture, Loweko's name became one of the many unforgettable stories tied to Chicago's most dangerous era. And sadly, like many others connected to that world, his story ended far too soon. If you made it this far, let me know your thoughts below. And remember, behind every viral story, diss track, or street rumor are real lives, real families, and real consequences that continue long after the internet moves on.